Bienvenidos, Fright fans, and welcome to the horror show. I am Jaime En Fuego, here to present a special encore presentation that originally in 2015 was seen on my then YouTube channel, Jaime En Fuego, which was for a program called ENFUEGOTAINMENT that is in the process of a relaunch. But we thought that for the month of October, the best thing that we could do was bring the entire series coverage of the 1980s and 90s Tales from the Crypt HBO television show over to the horror show, show it to a larger audience so that they can appreciate all of the hard work. Man, did I bust my ass for that month or so, getting every single one of the 93 episodes done and reviewed and spoken about. We did a little of my little trope at the time, which was Bueno, Malo, Feo, which is a good episode, a bad episode, and an ugly episode. I am taking these 3 at a time, and then also a special 3-episode final edition covering all 3 of the films. Yes, there are in fact 3 films. So join me here as we jump into a little bit of a horrific relic that I am very proud to show all of you guys. So until next time, stay scared.
Freaks and fright fans alike, this is Jaime En Fuego. You are on ENFUEGOTAINMENT, where yours truly here covers the hottest entertainment with an edge. And here for the month of October, I have been doing something utterly spooktacular. That's right, doing a little bit of the Crypt Keeper there. And that's because I have been covering from episode 1 to 93 the entire series run of Tales from the Crypt. And here on ENFUEGOTAINMENT, what I like to do is basically give a designation of Bueno, Malo, and Feo anytime I'm doing a project of any kind. So that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so it worked out mathematically perfectly to do 3 episodes a day, 1 Bueno, 1 Malo, 1 Feo, and I would be able to run through the entire series in the month of October. Pretty sweet. So we are at the very tail end of the 4th season now here. This is part 17, my 17th installment of Tales from the Crypt coverage. And to start out with our Bueno, we are going to be doing an episode that I saw as a kid. There's a few of these that I either don't remember or didn't see as a child, but I'm pretty sure I saw most of these. So I fell in love with it as a kid, and the series still holds up well even after all these years. So to start things off, the good, the bueno, that's right, we've got Werewolf Concerto. Yes, Werewolf Concerto. And this one was directed by a gentleman by the name of Steve Perry. No, not that Steve Perry you're thinking of from Journey, although it is a pretty damn good psych out. Now, this Steve Perry is actually most known for being a novelist, actually. And he's a novelist where he works in, like, pre-existing properties. So he was the one who wrote Shadows of the Empire, the Star Wars, kind of like, I guess it was episode 5.5 maybe? Yeah, because it took place in between Jedi and Empire, and so, but he also did like some adaptations of the Aliens comic book series. He basically took the comics and converted them into novel form. He also worked on Batman the Animated Series. He worked on Gargoyles, the real Ghostbusters. So yeah, man, he was a busy dude, but this is a rare foray for him into live action directing, like with real actors and stuff like that. And he has an awesome host of them in this episode. It's kind of almost like a murder mystery type thing, but dealing with werewolves. It's kind of sweet. You've got Dennis Farina in there. You've got Kyle from Family Matters. Yeah, he was in there too. You've got Beverly D'Angelo, who most of you will know from the Vacation films. She was Ellen Griswold. She was in like pretty much all of those, even the most recent horrible one that they did with that guy from The Office. And then you've also got, that's right, 007 himself, Mr. Timothy Dalton. And yeah, he's one of the lesser known 007s, but he did have the distinction of being James Bond at the time that this came out in 92. He had just gotten done doing License to Kill a couple of years before. So yeah, they're out at this like hotel resort, like out in the woods, and there's a werewolf on the loose, and you're basically trying to figure out who the hell the werewolf is, and you know, there's some twists, there's some turns, it keeps you guessing until the very end. Pretty damn good episode. The practical effects are awesome. The werewolf looks great. I think it's one of the best werewolves I've ever seen put to film. It's right up there with you know, Werewolf in London and probably like The Howling and Bad Moon. And so Silver Bullet, that's another good werewolf movie. Stephen King, read the book too, it's great. So yeah, man, Werewolf Concerto is most definitely today's bueno here for part 17. And then next up, we got to jump into our MALO. That's right, the bad, no bueno, yo. And this is an episode that actually wasn't that terrible, but hey, man, somebody had to jump on the grenade and take the distinction today. So it's called Strung Along, and just like the first episode, the bueno, this is from the Vault of Horror, and actually every episode, all three of these today, all originated in the Vault of Horror, which was another book that was under the EC umbrella. You know, Tales from the Crypt was the flagship title, but there was also the Vault of Horror, and there was also the Shock Suspense stories, and tons of other stuff. But yeah, this one's Strung Along. It's about, there's this guy played by Donald O'Connor, and he was Cosmo in Singing in the Rain. He's also on The Love Boat, so he's an older cat. Rest in peace. He is no longer with us. But yeah, so he's this aging like marionette, this puppeteer, and he's got a much younger wife. And so there is like suspicion of, you know, her being up to something, but you don't really know. And in an attempt to revive his career, he actually hooks up with this younger actor friend of hers, played by Zach Galligan, yeah, who everybody knows from Gremlins and Gremlins 2, right? I always think of him from Waxwork as well, and the aforementioned sequel, which, well, I would prefer not to mention, but yeah, so Zach Galligan, man, he's a familiar face, as I said, Waxwork and Gremlins, and he's the younger guy who wants to help resurrect O'Connor's career. Episode's directed by Kevin Yeager. He did the Freddy Krueger makeup. He also did all the like puppetry work and stuff for The Crypt Keeper and for Chucky from Child's Play movies and stuff, and he had directed one previous episode of Tales from the Crypt, Lower Birth, which was actually pretty stinking good, and had you know, Fred Decker wrote it, if I recall correctly. That was the one about the freak at the carnival who had like Siamese twin like half on his face that didn't fully develop or something like that, and he ended up finding some love with a very unsuspected suitor. But yeah, so I mean, Kevin Yeager, he's more so like a props effects type guy. But yeah, this episode is not awful, as I mentioned, but yeah, I don't know. It just, compared to the other two episodes today, it just paled in comparison as far as quality goes. The twist is interesting. I'm not going to allude to what it is, but yeah, not an awful episode, not like the part 16 where I just couldn't really stomach any of those Tales from the Crypt episodes. This one was actually, the acting was good. The concept was just kind of blah. So yeah, I guess that's why it's getting the no bueno, the MALO, the bad distinction today. So lastly, we're getting into the ugly homies, the feo. Yeah, and this is an episode that I remembered very distinctively as a kid. It's called Split Personality, and it's got Joe Pesci in it, and he is Joe Pesciing it up, man. I mean, that same kind of like rough, rugged charm, you know, the Italian, whatever you want to call it, gangsta type, you know. He's, yeah, he was so great in Goodfellas, and then Casino, and Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag. I mean, Joe Pesci's great, man. Doesn't matter what he's in, and he is basically using his charm in this to kind of swoon a pair of twins, and we're talking double trouble, man, because they are both super foxy, but you get kind of the vibe that something is off with them. They're just really weird. Their father is a deceased, like, architect, billionaire type guy, and so Pesci's like, I'm gonna start wooing these broads. And this actually saw the return of writer Fred Decker, man. He had done tons of previous Tales from the Crypt episodes, especially in the early days. Like, he did All Through the House, which is the Christmas one that Zemeckis directed. He also did Only Sin Deep, which had a great performance by Leah Thompson in it. And he also did the Lower Birth, the episode that I was just talking about, actually. So yeah, he did write that. He also wrote and directed The Thing from the Grave, which is one of my personal favorite Tales from the Crypt episodes. Really, really good. And Fred Decker, man, pretty much anything that he does is good, except for maybe RoboCop 3. But yeah, man, Night of the Creeps, Monster Squad. I cannot talk enough about my love for the Monster Squad. And so, yeah, Wolfman does have nards, believe it or not. And so, yeah, I mean, the episode is ugly for the climax, and it's also ugly for the way Pesci is trying to, he's trying to woo both of these chicks, man, you know. It's kind of ugly, it's kind of feo, kind of slimish what he's trying to do. Ironically enough, it was also the only episode, I believe, of the series that was directed by Mr. Joel Silver. Now, Joel Silver is not, he was one of the co-creators of the show, one of the executive producers, but he's not really a director per se, he's more so a producer. So he has produced so much stuff, man. The Matrix movies, first two Predator movies, the first two Die Hard movies, the Lethal Weapon movies, and then he also co-founded Dark Castle Entertainment, and that's done all kinds of horror stuff, from more recently stuff like Orphan and Splice, but House on Haunted Hill, 13 Ghosts, Ghost Ship, they're all just kind of okay movies. But yeah, so the guy's got horror in his blood, but it's interesting to see him actually jumping behind the camera and directing an episode, and it's effective. The music is good. You know, the performances are good, albeit the ugliness that I mentioned. And so, yeah, it's a pretty damn good episode. It's actually, it came down to this one and Werewolf Concerto. I was really torn about which one to give which distinction to, but in the end, based on the climax, it got the Feo. But you know what? Werewolf Concerto could have been Feo too. You know, it's got some grisly gore effects in there. And so, yeah, I'd say both are a little Bueno and a little Feo. Both both Werewolf Concerto and Split Personality. So there you have it, guys. That is my 17th installment of my Tales from the Crypt full series coverage. I'm going to be back at you with another one of these mañana. So I got to extend a grande gracias first and foremost for all of you tuning in. Please check out The Horror Show at thehorrorshowchannel.com, just like you're seeing it spelled below. That's where I do all my spooktacular coverage when I'm not here on ENFUEGOTAINMENT. And I am also Jaime En Fuego, as I've mentioned a few times. And please be sure to hook up with me on all social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, obviously here on YouTube, and it's spelled just like you're seeing it below. No, it's not Jamie, damn it, it's Jaime. That's the Espanol way. So, yeah, I extend that grande gracias once more, and I look forward to discussing more Tales from the Crypt with all of you audiences mañana. So until then, I'm going to give the Horror Show sign off. Stay scared, fright fans. Peace.